So we're going to talk about talk to the dinner table, navigating difficult major and career conversations. We are career services team. Most of us here are in the career planning team. So we're excited to share this with you. If you don't have the QR code, it's okay. It's going to be at the end as well. So I'll come back to it.
Okay, Messenger.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Now to work with Eric.
So we got our almost our whole team here today. So I'm Erin Granger, one of our assistant directors in the career planning team and career services. I'm your presenter for today. This amazing presentation was actually created by Alexis Walmer, one of our career counselors, and she's helping out as our Zoom assist. And then finally, of course, we have Cameron Smith, another career counselor. He is also Zoom assist plus narrator for our scenes today. So we have a great group of folks, especially looking at here's our dinner guests. We've got some parents, we've got some students, and they're going to help portray some of these scenes that might come up while you're at the dinner table. Right. So thank you to Alexi and Josiah, Brian, Jamie, DJ, and Kai. Sorry, I keep looking behind me. Again, I didn't make this, so I'm relying on what's on the screen. So obviously, table of contents, this is what's happening today. We are going to look at introduction, some common topics, questions that might come up, some scenarios, what you could say, strategies, and then we'll wrap it up. So why does this matter? Why are we having this presentation for y'all? Because of course, this comes up a lot with our student meetings is we find out there's a lot of difficult conversations that are happening when you're home with family again, whether it's for Thanksgiving that's happening next week or over winter break, or your mom's texting you all the time. What's going on with your major? What's going on with your classes? And so I think this is going to be some good advice and tips and strategies to help you with navigating those tough conversations that come up with your parents, your loved ones, your significant others. These gatherings can bring up some big life questions. There's going to be, your aunties you haven't seen in a minute, grandma, grandpa, pop, pop. They want to know how you're doing, and so it might feel like they're pressuring you to have it all figured out. But of course, college is all about exploring. It's common to still feel unsure and to be undecided and to still be exploring. And so that's what we're going to chat about today. And why are your parents pressuring you? Why are your folks pressuring you about stuff like this? Well, because they love you. They care. They want to support you. They want to see you growing. And so you might have this fear of you're disappointing them, that you're not living up to their expectations, whether they're saying it out loud or you just kind of feel it internally. That can happen too. And honestly, these boomers these days, they don't know what it's like in the job market. It is a totally different world than it was for them. So what they're expecting versus what is reality is going to be a big difference. Today's job market is a lot more flexible. It's moving. There's definitely different opportunities coming up all over the place. And of course, there's that pressure to compare. You're comparing yourself to your siblings, to your cousins, to yourself when you were in high school, even. There's that comparison pressure that you're feeling all around you. But that's, try not to do that. I know it's hard. I do it too, especially being a twin. Um, a lot of the times too, these folks don't just know what you're interested in. Your interests change. You're growing and you're learning and you're experiencing all new things at university. So this is the time to grow and learn and explore. And so of course, your changes might be something that they don't know about. And so of course some majors and fields are unfamiliar to them. So some statistics, bestcolleges.com said that 61% of alumni said that they would go back and change their major if they could. I've even been doing some research on this too, and I expected that changing your major a lot was going to impact your 4-year time plan, and apparently it doesn't, according to research that I've been doing online. Doesn't change it by much. Um, a lot of students, of course, they're changing their majors because they want to focus on what they're passionate about, what their interests are. And if, like I said, those interests change as they grow and develop their time in university. And it's typical for Gen Z in the job market these days. Once you're graduating, you're going out to the working world, you try out a job for a year or so, and you know what? My interest changed. It wasn't what I expected. I'm going to grow on and move into a different field. And that's the cool thing about you know, experiencing that happenstance of let me try it out, let me see what one door opens to another opportunity to another. So I really liked this quote from the Randstand article. It's not job hopping, it's growth hunting. Try to reframe that thinking that you're failing, you're not living up to those expectations. You might be undecided or confused. You might feel like you're quitting, but reframe that to these statements instead. So try and maybe screenshot these or keep these in your back pocket. You're exploring, you're building a better fit, you're gaining clarity through these experiences as well as networks too. And you're making a strategic change. These decisions that you're doing, this change, is an act of courage, not a sign of weakness. So here's some questions that might be causing some stress. And again, they're probably well intentioned by your family. They don't mean to put you on the spot and pressure you, even though they are. What's your major again? What was that? Wasn't it something like engineering? What happened with that? What are you going to do with that degree? For me, it was psychology. That's my undergrad. What, you can't make any money in that. Why are you doing that degree? You're still undecided? So recognizing that these are predictable patterns, they're going to help you feel more prepared and less caught off guard. So if you're ready for these questions, these are typical questions you might get. You'll be ready to answer them in a way that makes sense. Sorry, I forgot this slide. When will you decide? Be direct. I'm building a plan that's both meaningful and practical. It might take some time, but I'm making progress with my psychology major. So that's a good statement that you could use. I'm working on it. So, especially if you're still undecided in that what's your major question, right now I'm exploring a few different paths. I've been enjoying psychology and sociology. I'm working with my academic success coach to figure out what's going to be the best fit for me. And then when you're changing your major, you know what? I realize I am more passionate about psychology than engineering. I want a career that energizes me long term. Obviously, I keep putting in psychology and other majors, but fill in what makes sense for you. You can see the screen. We used subject in brackets, so fill in what you're going through. But what happened to your old plan? Well, that was the plan at one point. I realized it wasn't the right fit for me. I'm glad I figured that out now rather than later. Oh yeah, absolutely. Better soon than later. Maybe you lost interest or you struggled. There's some really challenging classes out there. You cannot catch me in a calculus class, that's for sure. I gave it an honest shot. I learned it didn't match my strengths or passions. I'm really excited about where I'm headed now. What's your career plan? So you can be more direct. I've set a goal to make a decision this semester. I've taken these classes and I've talked to professionals in the field. Love that. Aren't you worried about jobs? And this is again, they're coming from a place of love and compassion, maybe not coming out the right way. And so yeah, I'm totally thinking about that too. I'm trying to gain experience. I'm talking to folks in the field and I'm keeping my options open. There are a lot of ways to get where I want to be. So especially about talking to folks in the field. We love sharing that in our conversations in career services. Our informational interviews are a great way. What are you going to do with that degree? Well, if you're unsure, you can just say, I'm still exploring and give those items of how you're exploring. I'm looking into areas like Industry 1 and Industry 2. A lot of jobs value the skills I'm building, even if the path isn't super direct, which is absolutely true. If you've got more of a broad major, it's a flexible degree. I'm learning how to think critically, communicate well, and work in teams, all things that employers care about. Absolutely, top skills right there. Direct answer. It opens doors in field 1, field 2, and field 3, and I'm figuring out which fits best. And we have a slide at the end that helps you with learning what industry insights are for a bunch of different fields. So you can use that too. So some tactics for staying grounded while answering. Be honest, genuine, not defensive. I know that's hard. Try and keep emotions out of it. Avoid sounding like you're trying to justify yourself. You already had this conversation with yourself. It'll be a lot easier. Speak with that calm confidence, even if you are still figuring things out. Show that you're thoughtful. Families are worrying when they think you're drifting. Show that you are thinking about your path. Focus on progress. Emphasize the learning, the discovery, the growth that you're experiencing, and how you're learning a lot through this process. You don't have to explain everything. You can pick a high level reason of it didn't feel right and leave the rest out unless you feel safe about going in deeper. So we're going to start with our first scene. Let's see, what does this look like? So scene one, our players could come up. I'll step out of the way and I'll hand you the mic. Okay, so I have to swap with each other.
Well, the first thing we're going to be talking about today.
Hold on. I'll be the mic passer.
So the first thing we're going to be kind of talking about discussion here is the typical questions that are going to come up within switching your path. So the first scenario we're going to have here is between a mother who is caring but practical, wants her son to think about their future, and a son who is a sophomore struggling with current major and wanting to switch. So action.
Mom, can we talk about something?
Of course, honey. What's going on?
Yeah, so it's about school. I've been thinking a lot about my major lately.
Oh, my future mechanical engineer. How's that going?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Um, it's not really going that great.
Oh, not going great? How?
I mean, I'm doing okay grade-wise, but honestly, I'm miserable. I don't enjoy what I'm studying. Thermodynamics is absolutely wrecking me. Every project feels like I'm just forcing my way through it, and it doesn't feel right. It's not fun, and I really don't like it.
That's tough, but engineering's a solid major. There's great job prospects, there's good pay, and you've already put in almost 2 years.
Right, and I thought about that, but I realized that I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. I picked it because it sounded safe, right? I mean, yeah, sure, it's got great pay, but it's not because I actually like it. Um, so actually, I wanted to switch to graphic design instead.
Graphic design?
I know. But I've been taking some art electives, and I actually really love them. I even did some freelance logo designs online at Parker Dewey. I don't know if you know what that is, but I got paid for them, so that's pretty sweet.
Well, that's awesome, but I just worry about stability. What are you going to do with that or what careers?
Right, and I've thought about that too, but I'd rather work really hard at something that I love than drag myself through something that I hate and wind up miserable. And I can still be really practical. Maybe I could double major or minor in business or something like that. And then eventually I could even manage my own clients.
Hmm. Well, you sound like you've really thought this through. When will you graduate?
See, I have. And I talked with my advisor already, and it looks like switching really won't delay graduation too much. Of course, I just wanted to talk to you first.
So based off that conversation, how do you feel it went? Well, what did each person, especially the student, how do you feel like they approached that situation? If you can in the chat, please put in what you feel, how you feel they approached it. What do they do well? What do you think they should work on, if any? How do you feel about it? Focus on growth, yes. What else? Hmm. How do you feel like the whole conversation, especially with the mother? How do you feel like was she supportive? Was she supportive in the whole conversation?
I'd say looking at this script definitely made me think that this mom is a lot more supportive than some other moms might be. Showed he thought through the potential issues ahead of time. Absolutely. He even started to get some experience on what was it? Parker Dewey. I was gonna say forage. That's another one. And you got paid. Yeah. So awesome.
I was gonna say, I think that one thing is that he actually had an explanation about explaining to her, like, when she was asking the questions, he was, he had those, like, kind of, oh, graphic design, and that.
Yes, having a plan is definitely what he had. He definitely has something laid out. He thought it through. He actually talked to an advisor, especially about that. So having a plan, having a discussion about it is the one thing that we want you guys to do.
All right, let's move on. We have let's see. I have to put the slides back up. So the next thing to think of, I want y'all to think of is tools to respond with confidence. Think calm, clear, and curious. So thinking the 3 C's, calm, breathe, try not to act emotionally, which is very difficult for me. So I imagine it's going to be difficult, especially with these tough conversations. But practicing helps. You don't need to justify your whole life plan in one sentence. Be clear, be honest, and direct. It's okay to say, I am still exploring. You can say, I'm in the process of exploring career options that align with my interests. And then be curious. Flip the conversation around. Ask them about their journey. What was your first job after college? Help shift that spotlight, make it a two-way conversation. And so now we're going to go into our next scene, scene 2.
Which again, going off the calm, clear, and curious, we have a father who's definitely want to be practical and wants his daughter to think ahead. We have a daughter who's currently a senior with a broad major in uncertainty. So let's see how the scenario plays out.
So graduation's coming up. Have you been thinking about what comes next?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot actually. I'm in the process of exploring career options that align with what I enjoy and where my strengths are.
Well, that's good to hear. Your major's communications, right?
Yeah, it's broad and I like that. It gives me options. I've realized I really enjoy writing, connecting with people, and working on projects that involve storytelling.
All right, that makes sense. I just want to make sure you're not feeling stuck, overwhelmed. Communication majors are broad, they can be great, but sometimes they make it a little bit hard to know where to start when we're talking about a career.
I get that. And honestly, I don't have a final plan yet, but I'm not avoiding the future. I've been looking to a couple of positions. One's with a nonprofit doing communications work, and the other's a startup in digital marketing. I'm trying to figure out which path feels right for me.
I just want you to find something that has sustainability that's going to last.
Yeah, that matters to me too. I'm trying not to rush into something just because I feel pressured. I want to be intentional and flexible since things change so quickly these days.
Well, that's fine, but you just don't want to wait too long to start your search. What I don't want to see is you graduate and you're stuck without anything.
I actually have a meeting with career services next week, and I'm planning to start applying to those jobs and even explore more after.
Well, that sounds like a pretty solid step. I'm your dad. I'm always going to worry about you.
Thanks. I get that. So, what was your first job after college?
We're getting into that now.
So based off that conversation, how do you feel that conversation went, especially with the dynamic between the two, calm, curious, and collected? How do you feel that conversation went? If you could put in the chat, please navigate that.
Again, I feel like this dad is so much more calm, cool, collected than any experience I've had when my folks are asking me. So Wait till our last scene though.
Doctor or lawyer?
Right.
Two options.
Like, what is this communications? But yes, I would say, especially in this conversation, the student was calm, cool, collected, put it back on the parent so that they could learn from their experience, which is always a great conversation to have with anybody.
They the student was definitely prepared. They had done all of their homework. They knew the types of questions like the ones we've been going through in the presentation that you've been hearing Aaron mention that are pretty typical types of questions, those kinds of follow-ups you're going to get because they're going to test you. They're going to, no different than your teachers or your staff that you interact with at the university, to see where you are and how you feel about where you are. Just being prepared to not be thrown off when the questions are getting tough, right?
I think it's good that the student made it very clear to the parent that even though they don't have a final plan, it's not avoiding the future. There's still preparation that goes into it.
Using
Yeah.
resources on campus.
Using the resources, yes, absolutely. So that's definitely the goal for this for before Thanksgiving is might not be able to get to all the resources on campus just yet, but practicing these similar conversations is really going to help. Okay, let's
Dad
move on.
showed that he like cared. Like,
Yeah,
on the
Dad
back
showed
of
he
it,
cared.
worried
Yeah.
about you. It wasn't like, you better.
Which again, if the dad's not going to show that, that doesn't mean that they don't. Our folks might have different ways of showing they care by badgering you with a million questions of, oh, you said you're gonna work for a nonprofit. That doesn't make money. What are you gonna do? Well, actually, there is money there. You can write grants and help gain money and be part of that. Absolutely. So the problem is, of course, your folks are going to think that you know all the answers right now. It's like, no, I'm still working on that, but I've learned of a really good resource, which I'll share with you, called Lightcast for labor market insights. So that'll be one of our last slides to take home with for sure. So I've already been kind of mentioning this already. Practice. It's like a mental rehearsal practice with yourself. Try and think of what questions that your folks are going to come up with and how you're going to answer those questions. That'll definitely help with trying to be calm and cool and collected in your answers. Use some humor, lighten the mood. Yeah, let's have this argument over mashed potatoes. Create some boundaries. You know what? This is a time for being grateful and being together as a family. Do you mind if we talk about this later? Can we talk about it after dinner? Signal that confidence and that emotional awareness. And find some allies. Find a supportive family member, another cousin, another auntie or uncle that you can give like a wink to, a little hand signal of, hey, you know what? Can you step in on the conversation for me? Help them with deflecting that pressure or joining in on validating your responses. Yeah, come up with that signal, something to say, hey, I need some help here. Can you step in with me? Support me, or at least maybe let's change the conversation. So this is going to be our last scene. So if our 3 players could come up. And yeah, sorry, we just have the one mic, so we'll pass that around. Oh, do you get it?
So now let's see that practical answers, humor, boundary, allies, kind of scenario questions, that how they play out with the non-supportive father and a student who's really open to a different conversation. And we have that ally of a cousin who's there to kind of support their cousin and student in that process. So let's see how that plays out.
Well, what's the job market looking like for, what is it again? Hugging trees?
It's environmental studies, and the job market's actually growing, especially with climate policy, sustainable development, and environmental consulting. I've actually been exploring all 3.
Okay. But can you make a living planting daisies?
Only if the daisies unionize.
Seriously though, what kind of job is that? You're not going to save the planet with a bachelor's degree.
No, but I can help communities deal with rising flood risk or advise companies on reducing waste. I'm looking for a paid fellowship currently right now, so that focuses on urban sustainability planning.
How paid?
Well, it's not six figures, but it is a start and it's real work. Honestly, I'd rather be a part of solving problems than avoiding them.
Still sounds like a fancy way of being unemployed.
Can we hit pause on this, please? Let's just finish eating. I'll rather talk about jobs after pie when I'm full enough to handle existential questions.
Yeah, yeah. How about after pie and maybe a game of football? The loser can do the dishes and talk about all these big, beautiful questions, guys.
Bravo, guys, bravo. So how did that conversation play out? We can see the different dynamic from the previous ones. How did that one play out? Was it supportive? Was it kind of nurturing, especially with the cousin dynamic right there? How did that sitting scenario play out for you guys? What is the students' approach to that? Were they uplifting? How's the parents focus on that? How do you think the approach of the parent was in that? Yes.
The student remained respectful and set some boundaries. I felt like this parent is a lot more realistic. Like, how paid? What do you mean? Tree hugging and planting daisies. And it also shows that they also are missing some information too.
Yeah, I think this goes back to some of the previous slides that I think obviously the way the parent is presenting themselves, it doesn't seem the best, but it comes from a place of like genuine concern. They want the best for their kid, and they probably just don't know anything about this field. So they're like, no, you can't do anything with that. I want what's best for you because I do love and care about you, even if I don't know how to say it with my own words.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a great point. That the reason they're coming up with all of these stressful questions is because they are concerned about you. And so keeping that in the back of your mind will help you with like, you know what? I can answer this. Anything else, you guys? Yeah.
I feel like it was good in the student's perspective that even if she might not feel like she has like a understanding parent right now, she still has someone to lean on like her cousin. I think it really is important to at least have somebody that you can like rely on when you need help or like just anything like that to keep you going on as well.
Yeah, retweet that. And then also, oh man, that might be millennial of me to say that. Also, I would say being like really realistic with like what you have, because you're gonna be drilled because it feels like a drill session, right? Um, over right, like what is this? How are you gonna get it done? When people would ask me when I was studying psychology, what are you gonna do with that? It was a really quick turnaround to say, oh, actually, I use it every single day, and that is an immediate disarmament of like, oh wait, is he analyzing me? Right? And so, like with communications, bringing up like real life scenarios where people were working and doing things in this field, right? Oh, communications, you don't know what that's about? Have you ever seen an advertisement, right? Look at all those beautiful branding that we have here. Who do you think does that? So things like that, when you're able to apply a real life scenario and it's no longer of the job economy and it's actually, oh, but I've done my homework, I'm prepared, right? And maybe I don't have all the answers, but I'm working my way through it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Josiah. I need you to present this next semester. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much to our players. So we're talking about pocket responses. And so we have this handout as a quick guide as well for you to help you keep track. But here's some good ones to have as well. I'm still exploring, and college is a great place for that. Switching majors was a thoughtful decision after reflecting on my strengths and interests. This wasn't on a whim. This was definitely something you thought about. I'm building something meaningful. I want it to fit, not just be a fast track. And it might not look like a straight path, but it's my path. I love that one the most, I think, because we all consider our career to be a straight path, but it's really never that way. It's all over the place. Next slide. A flexible way to answer almost anything. I used to think X, but I've realized Y. I am now doing Z, and I'm keeping an open mind while I keep learning. So, for an example, I used to think I wanted to go into medicine, but I realized I'm more excited about psychology and how people work. I'm now exploring careers in mental health and research, and I'm opening to seeing where that leads. I think that's a great example, especially thinking that it's still like I'm still wanted to help, that ultimately that was my goal, was to help others. I'm just going to be helping them in a different way. Have a strategy. We said this. Be prepared. Practice your answers, redirect the conversation, and have a safe answer in your back pocket. Know your cheerleaders. Sit next to that supportive family member, friend, cousin, that relative, or someone that's with you in a direct line of sight from the non-supportive ones. Step away. If you need to give yourself time, take a walk after dinner, decompress, come back when you can feel less emotional and can explain everything that you want. For me, I have to write it down. Here's what I really think, because I was crying the whole time and you didn't hear me. I get it. So this is the slide I kept mentioning, showing up prepared. So on our website, career.ucf.edu/labor-market-insights, there's a QR code. Working on a shortened URL. We had problems with that. We'll get back to you. These insights are by Lightcast. They're taking information from ONET. ONET Online, if you've heard of that, great information, great resource. But this is a really wonderful way to get to the information, I feel like, faster, easier to see and read. You can quickly see employment trends. Is there growth in this field? What is that growth looking like? You can even see top employers, and you can narrow down your search by location. So if you want to narrow down who are the top employers in Florida, you can take a look at that. Of course, average earnings, something we all care about. What is it looking like for this? And another option to look at, or another item to look at, is the required skills. Because maybe there's skills in that field that you hadn't thought about that you still need to build on while you're here at the university. Or maybe there's skills that you're like, calculus, math, that's not me. I don't even want to do that. And so, okay, maybe we need to switch gears. Let's research some other opportunities that's going to be a better fit. So this will definitely help you with showing up prepared. Finding that support. We said, your cousin, your family member, you're not alone. Here at UCF, you have your academic success coaches, especially if you're considering a few different majors. We've got KMET-C in the room. Shout out to Sarah. Thank you. You also have CAPS, Counseling and Psychological Services, are available to students. You have your professors and you have mentors. And then you also have your peers, your classmates, your club mates are also dealing with similar situations. That's why we came up with this presentation, because we're like, hey, this comes up quite a bit in our conversations. So yeah, there's us too, Career Services. We're more than happy to talk with students about how to prepare for these tough, challenging conversations with your family. To recap, understand your journey is valid, even when it's a little messy. Growth isn't always immediately understood, and you are absolutely allowed to change your mind and redefine what success means for you. Questions, comments, concerns? Oh, thanks, Alexis, for posting the guide online and the Labor Market Insights website. Yeah, that's a fun one. I've been playing on that website, like just searching random careers. Yep, coming.
A nut, not a question.
See,
More like a
this is why you're
nugget.
presenting this semester.
More like a nugget and not a question. But I think approaching the conversation, anticipating that they're going to happen, the approach is really important. I feel like there's always a lot of apprehension with students when it surrounds this, which causes internally a defensiveness automatically. If you go in with the the belief in mind that people who ask these questions aren't attacking you, but rather are coming from a place of curiosity because they don't know, it will pull away that defensiveness and actually can allow you to approach it as an educator. And so instead of, oh, you've got to have a rebuttal for this, you have to have a rebuttal for that, assume, even if you know they're not, assume that they're being curious. So then you can just educate them on what you're doing and what you've been doing. Because turns out you're in an educational institution and you probably are learning a bunch of things that they don't know.
Like, yeah, that actually is a really great question. I haven't thought of that out. Thank you for bringing that up to me. You know what? I heard about this website, Lightcast. Let me take a look and see if that'll help give us some answers. Let's look at it together. Or, hey, I know I have a resource at UCF. I can talk with my success coach. I can make an appointment on Handshake to talk to a career counselor. Absolutely. Having that plan. Any other questions? Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Here's the QR code on, I don't know my right from the left. This one is to check in if you haven't done that already. The other side is our link tree because we have a lot of great resources on there, especially following our social media is a lot of fun because we try to post some good stuff. We've got some reels planned for the spring semester. So hopefully you'll get to check those out. But thank you all so much for joining us today. A big round of applause to all of our players. And a round of applause to Alexis and Cameron for their input. Alexis built this beautiful presentation, and the Cameron, myself, and Alexis helped come up with the scripts and scenarios, and so it really was a lot of fun to build and do this with the whole team. And thanks to our student staff, especially Kai, for coming in and helping out and be a player with us. Thank you.